Hello everyone. My name is Victoria and I need to tell you about the biggest betrayal of my life. This is a story about lies, greed, and the day I discovered that my entire childhood was built on deception. It's about family secrets, stolen money, and how one person's courage changed everything. I am 25 years old. Or I should say, I just turned 25. This story begins on my 25th birthday, but really, it starts much earlier than that. I need to go back to explain everything. I grew up thinking my family was poor. Not extremely poor, but struggling. My parents always told me we didn't have much money. We lived in a small apartment in a working-class neighborhood. We shopped at discount stores. We never went on vacations. We drove an old car that broke down frequently. My clothes were second-hand. My shoes had holes in them. I remember being embarrassed at school because other kids had nicer things. My parents worked regular jobs. My father was a delivery driver. My mother was a secretary at a small office. They complained about money constantly. Every dinner conversation was about bills we couldn't pay, expenses we couldn't afford, debts we owed. I learned from a young age not to ask for things. When I wanted new shoes, my mother would sigh and say we couldn't afford them right now. When I wanted to join activities at school that cost money, my father would shake his head and say money doesn't grow on trees. I felt guilty for existing. I felt like I was a burden on my parents. I tried to be a good daughter. I didn't complain. I worked hard in school. I got a part-time job when I turned 16 to pay for my own things. I bought my own clothes with money I earned at a fast food restaurant. I saved every dollar for college because my parents said they couldn't help me pay for it. I had a grandfather on my father's side. Grandpa William. He was a wonderful man. He lived in another state, about 5 hours away. I didn't see him often, maybe twice a year. But when I did see him, he was always kind and loving. He would give me $20 and tell me to buy something nice for myself. He would ask me about school and actually listen to my answers. He seemed different from my parents. He seemed happier, less stressed. My parents didn't talk about Grandpa William much. When I asked about him, they gave short answers and changed the subject. I thought maybe they had some kind of family conflict. I didn't push it. I just enjoyed the rare times I got to see him. When I turned 18, I graduated from high school with excellent grades. I had worked so hard. I had scholarships, but they didn't cover everything. I needed money for housing, books, food, everything else. I asked my parents if they could help at all. Even just a little. My father looked uncomfortable. We've told you many times, Victoria. We don't have extra money. You'll need to take out student loans like everyone else. I felt disappointed but not surprised. So I took out loans. Lots of loans. I worked 2 part-time jobs while going to university. I studied during every free moment. I barely slept. It was exhausting but I had no choice. During my university years, I saw Grandpa William even less. My parents said they were too busy to drive me to visit him. I didn't have a car. I couldn't afford gas money for the 5-hour trip. So I only saw him once a year, usually at Christmas. Every time I saw him, he looked sad. He would hug me tight and ask how I was managing at school. I told him the truth. It was hard. I was tired. I was stressed about money. He would look at me with strange expression, like he wanted to say something but couldn't. Then he would give me $100 and tell me to take care of myself. Those $100 bills helped more than he knew. I graduated from university 3 years ago with $30,000 in student loan debt. I got a job as a marketing coordinator. The salary was okay but not great. I moved into a tiny studio apartment. I lived frugally, just like I always had. I sent money to my parents sometimes because they said they were struggling even more now that they were getting older. I felt obligated to help them after they raised me. Last month, something happened. I received a phone call from Grandpa William. This was unusual. He rarely called. He usually only contacted me through birthday cards with $20 inside. Victoria, honey, I need to talk to you about something important, he said. His voice sounded serious and tired. Is everything okay, Grandpa? I asked, worried. I'm fine, sweetheart. But there's something you need to know. Something I should have told you years ago. I was wrong to stay silent. I want you to come visit me. Soon. This weekend if possible. It's urgent. I felt concerned. Was he sick? Was something wrong? I told my boss I needed a family emergency day off. I borrowed a friend's car and drove 5 hours to Grandpa William's house. When I arrived, he looked older than I remembered. More frail. But his eyes were determined. He hugged me at the door and invited me in. We sat in his living room. He made tea. Then he looked at me with sad eyes and said, Victoria, I need to tell you something that's going to shock you. Something that's going to hurt you. But you deserve to know the truth. My heart started beating faster. What is it, Grandpa? He took a deep breath. Your parents have been lying to you your entire life. About money. About everything. I was confused. What do you mean? He stood up and went to his desk. He pulled out a folder full of papers. Legal documents. Bank statements. He handed them to me. Victoria, when you were born, I created a trust fund for you. $3 million. It was my life savings, my investments, everything I had built. I put it all in a trust for you. The trust was supposed to be accessible when you turned 18. Your parents were the trustees until then. They were supposed to tell you about it. They were supposed to give you access to the money for college, for your life, for your future. I stared at the papers in my hands. $3 million? A trust fund? This couldn't be real. I don't understand, I whispered. Why didn't I know about this? Grandpa William's eyes filled with tears. Because your parents hid it from you. They never told you. When you turned 18, they were supposed to transfer control to you. Instead, they kept control. They've been using your money for themselves for the past 7 years. I felt like the room was spinning. What? No. That can't be true. We were poor. We struggled. He shook his head. You were never poor, Victoria. Your parents had access to $3 million since the day you were born. They used it for themselves. They bought properties. They invested in businesses. They took vacations without you. They lived comfortable lives while making you think you were poor. They made you work 2 jobs. They made you take out student loans. They made you feel guilty for existing. All while they had millions of your dollars. I couldn't breathe. I looked at the bank statements. Withdrawals. Hundreds of thousands of dollars taken out over the years. Property deeds in my parents' names. Investment accounts. Luxury purchases. All funded by my trust fund. The trust fund I never knew existed. Why didn't you tell me? I asked Grandpa William, tears streaming down my face. He looked devastated. I'm ashamed to say I was a coward. Your parents told me that if I told you, they would cut off all contact. I would never see you again. I was afraid of losing you. I was afraid of the conflict. I kept hoping they would do the right thing eventually. But years passed and they never did. When you told me last Christmas about your student loans and your struggles, I couldn't stay silent anymore. I'm old now, Victoria. I'm 87 years old. I might not have much time left. I can't die knowing you never learned the truth. I'm so sorry I waited this long. I sat there crying, trying to process everything. My entire life was a lie. Every struggle, every sacrifice, every moment I felt guilty for needing things, it was all unnecessary. My parents had stolen from me. They had stolen my childhood. They had stolen my education. They had stolen $3 million. What do I do? I asked Grandpa William. He handed me another paper. This is the name of a lawyer. A good one. She specializes in trust fund disputes. I've already spoken to her about your case. She said you have grounds to take legal action against your parents. You can get your money back. You can get justice. I looked at the lawyer's name and phone number. My hands were shaking. Your 25th birthday is next week, Grandpa William said gently. I wanted you to know the truth before that day. I wanted you to have the power to change your life. You deserve that money, Victoria. It's yours. It always was. I stayed with Grandpa William that night. We talked for hours. He told me everything. How he had made his money through smart investments. How he wanted to ensure my future was secure. How my parents had seemed trustworthy at first. How they slowly changed after getting access to the trust. How they distanced me from him so he couldn't tell me the truth. Everything made sense now. Why they never let me visit him alone. Why they changed the subject when I asked about him. Why they seemed uncomfortable whenever he was mentioned. The next morning, I drove back home. I didn't tell my parents where I had been. I called the lawyer immediately. Her name was Patricia Morgan. She reviewed my case and confirmed what Grandpa William said. My parents had breached their fiduciary duty as trustees. They had misappropriated funds. They had committed fraud. I could sue them and likely win. But I need to warn you, Patricia said. This will destroy your relationship with your parents. Family lawsuits are ugly. Are you prepared for that? I thought about it. Then I thought about all the lies. All the years I struggled unnecessarily. All the times I felt worthless because I couldn't afford things. All the debt I carried. Yes, I said. I'm prepared. We filed the lawsuit 3 days before my 25th birthday. My parents were served with legal papers. They called me immediately, screaming and crying. How could you do this to us? My mother yelled. We're your parents. We raised you. I stayed calm. You stole from me. You lied to me for 25 years. You made me suffer while you spent my money. My father got on the phone. We were going to tell you eventually. We were just waiting for the right time. I laughed bitterly. The right time? I'm 25 years old. I've been an adult for 7 years. When exactly was the right time going to be? He had no answer. My mother started crying again. We needed that money. We had expenses. We had debts. Your grandfather gave us access, so we thought we could use it. I felt rage building inside me. It wasn't his money to give you access to. It was my money. He gave it to me, for my future. You stole it. And you made me believe I was a burden. You made me feel guilty for existing. They tried to negotiate. They offered to give me some money back if I dropped the lawsuit. Patricia advised me to refuse. They'll give you back a fraction and keep the rest. Let the court decide. So I refused. The lawsuit moved forward. My 25th birthday came. It was the strangest birthday of my life. I didn't celebrate with my parents, obviously. Instead, Grandpa William drove 5 hours to visit me. He brought a cake and a card. Inside the card was no money, just a note that said, "The best gift I can give you is the truth. Happy birthday, sweetheart. I'm proud of your courage." The legal process took 4 months. During that time, the truth came out piece by piece. My parents had bought 3 investment properties with my trust money. They had taken luxury vacations to Europe, the Caribbean, and Asia without me. They had bought expensive cars and then sold them. They had invested in failed businesses. They had spent over $2 million of my money. The remaining $1 million was still in the trust account, barely touched. The court ruled in my favor. My parents were ordered to return all misappropriated funds. This meant they had to sell the properties. They had to liquidate assets. They had to pay back every dollar with interest. The judge was not sympathetic to them. You betrayed your daughter's trust in the most fundamental way, the judge said. You stole her future while making her believe she had nothing. This is one of the worst cases of trustee breach I've seen. My parents were ordered to pay back $2.3 million. With the remaining $1 million still in the account, I would get back $3.3 million total. More than the original amount because of interest and investment growth over the years. My parents had to declare bankruptcy to pay the judgment. They lost everything. Their properties. Their cars. Their comfortable life. They moved into a small apartment, ironically similar to the one they made me believe we lived in when I was young. People might think I should feel guilty about this. But I don't. They made choices. They lived lies. They faced consequences. After the settlement, I paid off my student loans immediately. $30,000 gone in one payment. I cried when I made that payment. Those loans had weighed on me for years. They were completely unnecessary. I could have gone to college debt-free if my parents had been honest. I quit my stressful marketing job. I took time to figure out what I really wanted to do with my life. I enrolled in graduate school to study art history, something I always loved but thought was impractical. Now I could afford to follow my passion. I bought a beautiful apartment. Not a mansion, just a comfortable 2-bedroom place with big windows and natural light. Every morning I wake up there, I feel grateful. I helped Grandpa William with some of his medical expenses. He protested, but I insisted. "You gave me this gift," I told him. "Let me give back to you." He cried and hugged me tight. I invested most of the money wisely. I met with financial advisors. I created a diverse portfolio. I'm not trying to become even richer. I just want to be secure and comfortable. I want to live without the constant stress about money that dominated my childhood. My relationship with my parents is over. Completely over. They've tried to contact me several times. They've sent letters apologizing. They've had relatives call me asking me to forgive them. I haven't responded. Maybe someday I will forgive them for my own peace. But I will never have a relationship with them again. What they did was unforgivable. They didn't just steal money. They stole my childhood. They stole my peace of mind. They made me feel worthless when I leave. Today, I'm 25 years old and my life has completely changed. I'm happy. I'm secure. I'm pursuing my dreams. I have my grandfather who finally found the courage to tell me the truth. That's my real family. Not the people who share my blood and stole from me. I learned important lessons from this experience. I learned that people are capable of terrible things, even people who are supposed to love you. I learned that money can corrupt even family relationships. I learned that standing up for yourself is not selfish, it's necessary. I learned that sometimes the truth hurts, but it's always better than living a lie. And most importantly, I learned that you can't trust everyone, even your own parents. Trust must be earned and maintained. My parents broke that trust in the worst possible way. If you're in a situation where family is taking advantage of you financially or otherwise, speak up. Get help. Don't let guilt or obligation trap you. You deserve honesty. You deserve respect. You deserve what's rightfully yours. Don't let anyone, not even family, steal that from you. Grandpa William is still alive and doing well. He visits me often now. We have a relationship built on honesty and real love. He tells me constantly how proud he is of me. Not for the money. Not for winning the lawsuit. But for having the courage to fight for myself. "You could have stayed silent," he said recently. "You could have just accepted the lies to keep the peace. But you didn't. You demanded the truth. That takes real strength." Last week, I saw my parents from a distance. I was at a grocery store and saw them in the parking lot. They looked older, tired, stressed. They were getting into an old car, arguing about something. For a brief moment, I felt sad. Not for them, but for what could have been. If they had been honest from the beginning, we could have had a beautiful life together. I could have grown up secure and loved. They could have been part of my success. But they chose lies and greed. They chose themselves over me. And now they have nothing. I walked to my car and drove to my beautiful apartment. I'm living the life I deserve now. The life that was always meant to be mine. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps someone who might be in a similar situation. Always fight for the truth. Always fight for yourself. You deserve it.